I'm not sure why I shared my story with all of you. I suppose I needed someone else to know everything. The only person I told this to was my girlfriend. I didn't tell her right away, but rather a few months after. She knew something happened at that cabin. She saw news reports online that there was a fire in the Ozarks, at the very same address I left her when I first departed. Then there were the burned remains of several missing people found deep in the forest by a park ranger or something. Finally, my mother's disappearance was the last straw. She asked me why I didn't seem shaken by it. She said she knew it was all an act when the cops talked to me, but she was the only one who knows me well enough to pick up on it. If not for all of these facts, as well as the scars on my body, I would have thought I was crazy or that I dreamed it all. I didn't blame her when she broke up with me. I didn't even blame her for trying to have me committed. I think she assumes I murdered my mother, and technically, she would be correct. So I moved away, started a new life, a fresh start where nobody knows me. When I finally started to stabilize my mind, I eventually met someone. We were married a year later and had a beautiful baby boy. We moved to a small city in a different state. I had a new job and a cozy house. I've never been happier. I love my wife and my son more than I ever thought I could. I didn't think I could trust anyone again after what happened. But they fixed me. I made up stories about the scars all over my body, and questions were never really raised. In all honesty, looking back, it feels like the cabin really was a dream. Everything in my memory of those few days was a hazy blur. Until recently, at least. It was 7 years ago that I spent the week in that cabin. 7 years since my mom passed away. 7 years since my life was turned upside down and destroyed from the inside out. I suppose the reason I'm telling you all this is really because of my son, Patrick. Patrick is without a doubt the highlight of my life. Since the day he was born, he's been my best friend, and all I've wanted to do is share my whole life with him. I guess I'm telling you all this because of the day that brought these memories back to the front of my mind. One morning, my wife told me he was having night terrors. He told her that he woke up the other night and there were bugs in his room. He said that they were at the end of his bed in a circle, all of them dead, except for one moth that was trying to fly but couldn't. When I heard about this, I went to talk to him. We sat on his bed while I questioned him. He wouldn't answer me. He wouldn't even look at me. I finally grabbed him and told him that he had to tell me. He shook his head. Finally, I asked him if there was anyone else in the dream. He looked up at me finally, confused. He said, "Daddy, it wasn't a dream, you know that." I asked him what he meant, and all he did was gesture to his dresser. I got up and opened the top drawer. Inside was a stack of papers. A familiar document lay in the otherwise empty drawer. The cover page read something different than what I remember, though. For Patrick. From Grandpa. It was the same papers he left me. I asked him where in the hell he got them from, but he just sat there silently, staring into space. I realized I was shouting and trembling, both of which probably scared him even more. I calmed down and stood in front of him, then squatted down to his level. I put my hands on his shoulders and looked into his eyes. "Patrick, I need you to tell me what happened. You can tell me anything." He started crying, but finally opened up. "I heard my dresser drawer open and close. That's why I woke up. That my door closed, but not all the way. It was just cracked. I got up and looked at the dresser and saw the papers. Then I was going to go back to bed, and that's when the bugs were on the floor. I didn't tell Mommy, but that isn't what scared me." "What was it then, buddy?" I asked, with an eye twitching at the mention of bug ring. "There was someone standing on the other side of my door, looking into my room through the crack in the door, just watching me and whispering words that I didn't understand." "What do you mean, buddy? Who was watching you?" "It was you, Daddy. Don't you remember? You were looking at me and whispering to me. The only words that made sense to me. In the last thing you said, you told me that soon we were going to the trees, that we were going home." I assured him that I didn't mean to scare him. I assured him that I was sleepwalking and I don't remember it. I told him that the bugs were just a dream, and I've told him that several times. I told him at the hotel in St. Louis we stayed at as the scraping in my head came back. I told him when the whispers returned as we crossed over Bagnell Dam. And I assured him and my wife that we would have a great time as we turned down the dirt driveway and I can hear the laughter among the screams of anguish. I guess I'm telling you all this because I want you to know that we are going home. And soon, all of you will join us. All right. Well, that's that. Thank you guys so much for watching the entire series of What I Inherited from a Father That I Didn't Know. And the funniest part about not knowing stuff is you guys probably didn't even know that that was the actual title. The original author had abbreviated it after the first part, so I thought it only made sense to do that for the whole thing. It was also easier to fit that on a thumbnail and in the title. Made it a little more mysterious. It made sense for the first part, but I'm glad that he did change it because it made more sense that way to me. I really enjoyed this series, and it seems like a lot of you guys did too. Just like you guys did with the Missing Sister series that I did in the beginning of this year. Everybody really liked that, and that's actually one of my most popular, consistent set of videos that I've ever made. It got over like 200 views each part. Towards the end, people kind of started fading out, which I get. People start getting bored of the same thing over and over again, and it seemed like it was the same thing for this one as well. People just kind of get tired of seeing the same thing over and over again. But it was the same thing that was happening with the last series I made. It started kind of getting stupid that I was posting it every Friday instead of like posting it consistently because the story has already been over for a month. So not finishing it for you guys is kind of, it feels like it's disrespectful to the author that he's already over and done with it and he still has to see, he has to wait so long for my version of it. But I really appreciate Coppin it and Washin it for for letting me use their their series for a series of videos. I always love doing these, and I always like to pick the ones that aren't very well known and popular because that's the ones who are less influenced by like trying to get like a twist out of people and like just want to write what they really want to write rather than it just being to try to get out there. Like this guy obviously enjoys writing just by his writing style and the work he put into it. I was not expecting anything that came out of it. The way where it turned into a whole like ritual god type thing, I was not expecting that at all. And just like I mentioned in a couple of live streams, when I'm reading, when I'm narrating, everything that you hear, I'm hearing it right along with you for the first time. So every time something crazy different happens, I'm hearing it the first time too. So all of the stuff where like everything switches up randomly and like it turns out to be like his father and his mother and they're trying to get him to be a part of this ritual that he was destined for. Like I was not expecting that, and I'm pretty sure you guys weren't either, and right along with you guys I was feeling the exact same things. Overall, really, really, really cool series, and I'm so glad that I got to do it. I'm so glad I found another one that was really, really good. And like I said, Coppin it, Washin it, thank you so much for letting me use it, and I'm glad that you guys enjoyed it. And right after this Friday, we'll start putting back the normal stuff as usual. My normal like true creepy stuff and my creepypastas. I want to get back into doing like true creepy stuff because it's been a while since I did it consistently. So we're going to get back to that. We're trying to grind out some of that stuff and maybe get some collabs together because I still want to work with Busy. And I still want to do another horror by numbers thing whenever he gets back into doing this. And yeah, thank you guys so much for watching as always, and I'll see you guys later.